So next up on the agenda, we have Guru Banavar speaking about Viome. Guru?
All right, great. First of all, really appreciate this opportunity. And I'm really thrilled to give you a quick overview. And again, I'm going to stay at a high level, but of course, during the discussion, you can ask me more questions about various things. My role is Chief Technology Officer. I'm also heading up the AI and discovery teams. So I do a lot of the product work and the science work, and also some, quite a bit of the business work. So it's all of the above. So we started off Viome about 6 years ago to look at the molecular level of the human biology at a very deep level and address chronic disorders, including cancer and aging. And this is a big agenda, of course, but I believe we have a very unique approach to addressing this objective, which I hope to tell you in these 5 bullet points as highlights. So first of all, we have created what I consider to be the world's largest and the richest microbial and human gene expression database. So this is an RNA nucleotide database. We have more than 600 trillion RNA nucleotides that we have sequenced from more than 400,000 samples from more than 100 countries around the world, people from more than 100 countries around the world. So this is a huge breadth of rich data that we can leverage for a variety of things. And we were able to do this through two major technological advances that we made. One is metatranscriptomics, which is RNA sequencing, which we do in an untargeted way. And we not only do it in an untargeted way, but we do it at an accuracy that is 10,000x more than commercial kits available because of a variety of issues that you see in commercial kits. We've been able to address those issues over a period of about 10 years. And we are able to reduce the costs to the point where we are able to turn it into a consumer product. So that's point one in the technology. And the other is our AI and ML engine is able to now, because of the richness of the data and all of the things that we have built over time, we are able to discover host microbe interactions at a population level. And we are able to make a number of very rapid discoveries. And I'll give you several examples of that. Most important for us is point 4, is that we started off the company with revenue generation in mind from day one. So we now have revenue traction with a number of clinical commercial applications across wellness, which is our starting point. We have 3 or 4 products in there. We just started a diagnostics business, and we also have partnerships in the therapeutic space. So it's a kind of a flywheel that starts off with the consumer wellness world, but it generates new science, new insights for developing diagnostics and therapeutics. That's a very different model for getting at the same kinds of problems that a lot of other biotechs and biopharma companies are going after. And finally, I want to emphasize that we have a custom precision supplement subscription business that is used for doing interventions at a precise individual level that we are able to test on a variety of different chronic conditions. And I'll show you some initial results, but we are continuing to do analysis along those lines. So this is the overall story, and the rest of it I'm going to be very quick. RNA is a bet we made because we believe that DNA is too static. When you look at chronic disease, we have to look at the changes in RNA, changes in gene expression, and gene expression changes can be very different, right, between 2 individuals. And we believe that captures the chronic disease conditions that we are interested in looking at. The second thing is microbiome, right? Microbiome is very, very highly prevalent across the entire human biology. But in particular, the gut microbiome, the oral microbiome, and other microbiomes that are becoming more and more well-studied have played a huge role in disease and wellness, much more than what we had previously expected. And this science has exploded in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years. And we are highly, aware of everything that we should and we can do in this space. And we've done a lot already. And we use this as a central part or a central pillar of our science. So we collect data and we monetize through a wellness business We synthesize and analyze and discover new insights through an AI-driven data synthesis model. We built a wellness business. I'll give up an overview of the products. Diagnostics business, I'll give you an overview of the products. We just got an FDA breakthrough designation last year for our first diagnostic, which is the first of many diagnostics that we will build. And we also have a number of target discovery activities that are currently going on that we think can provide a bunch of new insights. And I can show you one example at least of this, which pharma industry has shown a lot of interest in, and we've signed contracts with GSK, for example, to start this off. We have a great team, and again, because of the last question that I heard for the last company, I also have to say that we are very much interested in the diversity angle. We are working on it. There was more diversity, but it has reduced a little bit. But we are super proud of the scientific and the business capabilities that this team brings to bear. And you'll see the corporate timeline on the right-hand side. Our advisory board is over here. Again, we are very proud of the breadth of capabilities we have here. We've already raised a Series B convertible debt. You see the numbers here. A lot of really great investors, and we are in the process of raising Series C at the moment. So, jumping into the business, right? First and foremost, I want to tell you that our consumer segment is the biggest part. This is the wellness segment, right? To customers, this is an e-commerce business. So customers come to our website, order a kit which shows up at home. We believe that at-home care, at-home prevention is the best way to address chronic disease. So we start there. They send in samples. Our customers do, from around the world. We've analyzed samples, as I said, 400,000 samples. We process it in our own lab. We have built an app that our customers get insights and recommendations digitally. We also have the option for people to get physical supplements in their home, which is precisely manufactured for every single individual. This is not a generic set of components or ingredients, but it's from a large number of ingredients. It's manufactured specifically with dosage and ingredient mixtures, compounding pharmacy, if you will, that creates a specific formulation for you as an individual. And our goal is to get 6-month retesting for our customers, and actually quite a few of our customers do that. And so we have longitudinal data that sees what the improvements are over time, and we are able to adjust our recommendations as well. This is just a few snapshots of our app. You get health scores, you get your avoid foods, your superfoods, your supplements, and so forth. This is the digital version of it. There's also a physical version of it. But if you want to look at the kinds of insights we provide for the gut intelligence test, which is our starting entry point, there's the gut microbiome health, but the health intelligence test, which has both stool and blood, we have 6 different health insights, which you can drill down into. And in our latest, greatest sort of premium product, it's the full body intelligence. We have stool, blood, and saliva, 3 samples, and we give you the systems biology view of what is going on across your gut microbiome, across your oral health, across your cellular mitochondrial health. We have the biological age computation here as well that takes into account all of these different factors as well, and that's of course relevant to the conference we are in at the moment. We also provide differentiated precision supplements. So not every food is great for everybody. We, of course, take into account glycemic response, but we also look at specific microbial pathways. I show here uric acid, bile acid, sulfide gas production, and so forth. That may determine whether a food that's generally considered healthy, like avocado or turmeric, is not a good idea for you as an individual. And that is taken into account in our precision supplements as well. We've done a bunch of clinical studies by looking at clinically validated questionnaires at time point 1 and time point 2. And we've seen improvements across irritable bowel syndrome through the IBS SSS instrument. We've seen improvements in depression using the PHQ-9 instrument. Again, 38% for IBS, 36% for depression, 30% for type 2 diabetes. And this is, a little bit still dated. We have new results that we are, in the process of putting together and publishing, which is actually going to be shown in greater detail in a variety of papers. We also did general surveys, self-reported improvements from 17,500 customers, in the not too distant past. And we saw across these 5 areas, digestion, sleep, weight, mood, and energy, so significant improvement for these customers. And of course, a number of anecdotes as well. This is our lab on the left-hand side, our precision manufacturing, supplement manufacturing facility on the right-hand side. So that is the basis of our business. Underneath that is a platform where we have optimized metatranscriptomics technology, where we take out the non-informative RNA, we keep the informative RNA and get it at a very high level of accuracy, as I said before, which is much better at, ours is much better than anything that you can see in the general market. As I said before, we got 600 trillion nucleotides. We've extracted something like 40 billion molecular features across microbial and human genes. We combine that with phenotype metadata from our customers, which includes symptoms and diseases, medications, lifestyle, demographics, and we've built a number of predictive models. I'm highlighting about 30 of them over here. We use all of these in our current delivery of results across our wellness and diagnostics businesses, health insight, nutrition recommendations, and so on. We not only do this through our consumers, but we also have clinical partnerships with a number of hospitals with whom we get clinically adjudicated data with which we validate our results, that all the models that we build with our consumer data, we validate with clinically adjudicated data. And at the end of the day, this is the platform that we have. It's not only the 400,000 samples that I show on the left-hand side, the lab at the bottom layer, the operating system, so to speak, in the second layer from the bottom, the bioinformatics, pathway analysis, biomarker discovery, and so on. We have a number of components that are reusable in the third layer, the application enablers. And at the very top layer, that's how we go to market with our wellness business, our diagnostics business, and our therapeutics business. So just to give you a sense of the diagnostics business, it's very easy for us to get into new diagnostics because we have in silico analyzed data that's already sitting across a number of phenotypes, disease phenotypes. Here I show the gastrointestinal set of phenotypes, from top to bottom, right? Oral to colorectal cancer, and everything in the middle, right? So we started off with oral and throat cancer. We did an analysis with a partnership with a hospital, along with the consumers of Viome. We were able to get 90% sensitivity, 95% specificity for this product called CancerDetect that we just launched a month or two ago. And we got an FDA breakthrough designation for this. We have launched it as an LDT at the moment. It's available to anyone to buy. And this is the first of many, as I said before. And if you look at therapeutics, we've done a number of analyses for targets in diseases. Like in this particular case, I show inflammatory bowel disease, where we see the microbiome and the host, right? And in fact, the interesting thing is we see the interface between the microbiome and the host. So we not only see the human gene signature in the expressed genes that we believe there are several targets that we can go after from a traditional drug development perspective, and also the microbial functions at the top. But in the middle, we see the interaction between the human genes and the microbial pathways. And you see the dark red, which shows that when the microbes are highly expressed, the human gene pathway is also highly expressed. And the blue part of it, which shows that when the microbiome is highly expressed, the human gene pathway is very low in its expression level. So there's an opposite anti-correlation going on over there. So we have a number of insights like this with which we've built collaborations. GSK is our starting point, but there are several others that we are working on as well. And so that takes us into the therapeutics business as well. So I'm going to stop here and say, this breadth of business, not only across the chronic disease spectrum, but also across the different areas of health, which is wellness, diagnostics, and therapeutics. And we built this, what we think of as a virtuous cycle, where we get customers on the wellness side that are getting some benefits from getting these food recommendations and supplements. And that helps us drive the diagnostics and therapeutics business at scale around the world across many different sample types and across many different disease areas. So that's my summary of the company. Thank you very much for the time, and I'm happy to take questions.
Well, thank you so much, Guru. There's a lot going on there. If I may, I'm going to feed back to you what I think you've expressed as your business model, which is you have this consumer side of the business where folks use this information to make behavioral changes, improve their health.
Yep.
And essentially almost like, and forgive me for going here, a Facebook or a Google model, the consumers have that interface with the company, but you're using their data to do a whole lot more in the background.
Exactly. So the if I can just expand on that a little bit, right?
Sure.
Consumers are doing this with open eyes, right? So this is the first thing that they have to understand, in our terms of service, right? Which is basically saying that, listen, they get a lot of value. In fact, the cost, the price of a kit, which is in $100 to $200 range, is so much cheaper than you can get anywhere else. If you go to any other place, whether it's a traditional hospital, traditional lab, traditional anything, clinical study, or anything else. And the reason they're getting it at that price, of course, is because there's a lot of value that they are getting more than what they're giving us in some sense, right? They're getting, a lot of biological insights across many different areas of their body, their biology. And at the same time, they're also agreeing that the data can be used for further research in an anonymized way, of course, and de-identified way, right? So that is what is going on. So the scale of the data that we have across all of these people who have accepted our terms of service and are already getting value from our various kits is high enough. And that's a very different entry point into getting biological insights and scientific analysis of all of these things in what I would think of as a state-of-the-art or cutting edge technology like metatranscriptomics and AI.
Of course. And I can appreciate the fact that the transparency is, yes, here is what you're getting and here is what we're getting right at the front door, which is a lot more than I think some of the tech companies have done, at least in the early days.
Yep.
Can you possibly go back to slide 19? I had a question, but I'd love to reference the slide that sort of oriented the question.
Sounds good. Let me do that.
Wonderful.
Let's see, where did I put it? Over here. This one here?
I believe so. Sure.
Okay.
So first, let me ask very much the layman's question, which is, I understand that our microbiome does turn over at a regular rate. And so how does that affect this data? Are you getting more samples from within an individual, or are you getting samples from across more individuals?
It's both.
Okay.
So number one is we have a very high degree of breadth across different individuals. So we can look at populations of various types. We have age groups from literally from infants all the way to people close to 100 years old. And we have people from 100 countries, 106 to be precise. We have people across all ethnic groups. We have different genders, different lifestyles, different diets, different all of those things. So we get that breadth. So we're able to subset the groups that we're interested in, make the comparison, see what the differences are. We are in fact able to get cohorts that are in specific, domains of, health or ill health, right? And get a control cohort that is contrasting to that initial cohort and see the differences in very easy ways. So that's the breadth part of it. The depth part of it is we recommend to every single customer that they should retest every 6 months to a year. Of course, a subset of the population takes it seriously, and everybody who gets our precision supplements does do that. They in fact get additional and better recommendations the second time or the third time they take their test, because for the first period of time when they take our supplements, there are several pathways that get reset, right? And we take that into account in the second generation. and the third generation, and so on and so forth. So there is the longitudinal analysis for a subset of the population, but even that subset is significant. And so we are able to look at specific disease areas even within the subset of the population that has longitudinal data. And we are able to analyze disease areas like inflammatory bowel disease or rheumatoid arthritis, so whatever, across a control population that does not have those diseases, and we are able to do all kinds of diagnostics and therapeutics discovery as well.
Sure. And so I think I may actually have my answer for the following question, but when you look at your second circle, this 70 million phenotype metadata, because, and correct me if I'm mistaken, you're collecting a lot of patient-reported experiences, outcomes, and otherwise. And by virtue of it being a patient report, you have this degree of noise. So with an ever-growing sample size, you should be able to wash out the noise. Is that?
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. So there's two major aspects that we consider. So number one is we get the quote unquote diagnosed diseases. It's self-reported, but things that people got from a physician that they are willing to report to us.
Sure.
Number one. Number two, we also use dozens of clinically validated questionnaires. Like, for example, if somebody says that they have abdominal pain, for example, we get into the details of an IBS symptom severity score questionnaire, which is validated. We license that questionnaire, and we go through the questions and get a severity score between 0 to 500 to determine whether somebody has severe, greater than 375 IBS, or it is a mild, somewhere around 200 IBS. And based on that, we can decide how to prioritize that in the, the wholeness, right, of all of the questions that we've asked them. So all of those things are happening. And finally, I also want to say that we have access to people's health kit data. So we do get, various, things about, sleep patterns, activity patterns that people who have accepted and agreed to provide their health kit data, whether it's on the Apple Health Kit or the Google Health Kit, they have provided that data. And so we do take that into account as well when we provide the recommendations.
Okay. And maybe this is an AI or it really is a math question at its heart, but are there moments in your data set where your sample size reaches a certain threshold where that your sensitivity and specificity just jumped? Like, is there a calculation or a calibration for that where folks can know, well, our sample size just doubled, and because it doubled, we're able to have this degree of clarity in what we're offering you in our feedback, right? Our behavioral modification suggestions.
Very good question. And so, the answer to the question is that it's going to be a little bit subtle, but bear with me.
Sure.
So we develop reference cohorts for many of our analysis, whether it is for training our models or whether it is for delivering recommendations and so forth. We develop reference cohorts, and these reference cohorts are evolving over time because, in the time that I've been talking to you, there's been dozens of Viome customers who've just signed up, right, in the last half an hour. And every hour of every day, there are customers signing up. So there's new information that we are constantly gathering. And so our cohorts are improving every single day. That's part of what we do in machine learning, right? So the reference cohorts we use for training, and of course, when we see the time variation of any metric that you want to pick, you're talking about, sort of diagnostic type metrics, but you can pick, metrics, around, various efficacy factors as well, right? What changes happened when we were giving this set of supplements or these kinds of recommendations to individuals, food recommendations included. We track all of those metrics over time. And of course, we do take into account the ones that change the most back into our consumers and say, look, we have just released version 2 of this particular glycemic response model as an example. Just because, we see that, from 500, it's now 1,000 people from whom we've collected the data. So now we have version 2 of the glycemic response model. So we are happy to give you your new recommendations using the new model. And of course, they can choose to say, I will stick with what I have right now, or I'm willing to do, we call it backfill, which is, the new version of everything. So yeah, we are trying to be transparent about the idea that, science is evolving, data is increasing, our insights are improving over time, and we incorporate all of those things into these versions of the system that we deliver over time.
Guru, can I ask a question about that? As new cohorts are being added, and as I assume the algorithms being improved as well, directionally, do you ever have a situation like in the Woody Allen film Sleepers? We all knew that tobacco smoking was bad for you, but now we know it's good for you, kind of recommendations, or is it going to be refinements to their recommendations?
Well, this is a terrific question, Thomas. So, some of the things I showed in one of my slides, right? So there are these foods that everybody assumes is good, right? Spinach or, turmeric or, things like this, right? And, over time, we have seen that, for example, if somebody's oxalate pathways in their gut is, not very active, they're not in fact able to eliminate the kinds of foods that have a lot of oxalate in them. And I picked spinach because of that reason, right? Spinach has a lot of oxalate. If you're not able to eliminate the oxalate through your gut microbiome, it's not a great idea for you to eat a lot of spinach. It can cause kidney stones, it can cause other things. So those kinds of insights have happened not in the first generation, but in the second or third generation of our system.
Of the age groups represented in the current data set, which is the least represented, and what are you doing about it?
Yeah, the two extremes are the ones that are least represented, obviously, right? Somewhere between 30 to 60 or 65, we have a tremendous representation, right?
Right.
But I want to be clear that, the numbers that I talk about, sometimes we consider ourselves a little bit spoiled because the numbers are very, very large, right? I mean, we think of a 10,000 cohort as being, an okay cohort. If it's 1,000 people, I consider that to be too small. So, yeah, I mean, we do clinical studies for specific populations. Like, for example, we do clinical studies that, look at diabetes in older populations. We look at autism spectrum disorder in kids, right? In minors. So when we do these studies, we increase those two extremes of the distribution. But I mean, our goal is to target the broadest possible population around the world, and we try to also refine the marketing and the messaging that we provide on our website for what are the benefits for all parts of life and all the different phenotypes that we are interested in. And so there are some that are a little more interested in services like this, but over time I'm expecting that we're going to have, I'm not going to say that it's going to be a uniform distribution, but I think it's going to be a very good representation across the board.
That sounds great. And I have one final question in the 2 minutes we have left together. In terms of, again, going back to that very first question around data security, data usage, transparency, as you create this monster data set, what is the long-term plan for protecting it? Because there are folks out there who would think you could ultimately sell it to insurance, and that would be a viable, business model, but it may not make your users happy. So I'm just curious if there is a strategy around data protection and data stewardship.
Yeah. So first of all, we take this topic very seriously at Viome, and we are, we believe we have some rights and responsibilities for the data set that we take extremely seriously. From an IT standpoint, we put in a lot of security measures around our cloud and so forth. But from a business standpoint, We are not selling any data to any third parties at this time. This is all entirely Viome owned, Viome controlled, and we make use of the trust that our consumers have given to us in the terms of service, and we are delivering the services that we promised and doing the research that we promised, right? So that's pretty much what we're doing. And one of the terms in our website basically says, if we ever do it, if we ever, for example, use some of your data for a third party, let's say a study or something else, we will take your permission for it. So that's I think where we've provided that escape, and maybe we'll do some of this stuff, but we think we'll honor our terms.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for the time and the information, Guru. Wishing you the very best of luck, and we'll keep watch on Viome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the opportunity.